Hi, my name is Donna Bervinchak. I'm a Child'Space and Feldenkrais Practitioner. I am starting a lesson here with Keira, who is 6 years old. She just woke up from a nap, and this is a good time for me to do some body mapping and some very detailed work with her as she lies still. She likes to be on the move, so this is very rare for her. It's been 8 months since I've seen Keira, and this is the third day in a row that I'm seeing her during this series of lessons. During the 8 months that she was gone, she had 2 surgeries on her hips to prevent dislocation. So now she has plates in her legs. Also, Jen, who is sitting there with me, her mother, changed the formula inside her feeding tube. So now she is getting whole organic foods inside the tube. So she has to digest a little bit more than the more liquid formula that she was using. Since then, she has been taken off all seizure medications and is no longer having seizures. Right now, I'm counting Keira's fingers and playing with her hands, counting so she can learn to count and differentiating the fingers so that she can learn to use her hands differently. And right now you can see she's starting to have what looks like a seizure. She's having the same movement pattern that she used to have when she had seizures. And Jen said that in the morning this is a common thing. After a nap this happens to her. So I am taking her in my arms and supporting her skeleton as her abdominals contract very forcefully. It pulls her head back, as you had seen, so I'm cradling her head and actually doing the work for the abdominals by really putting her in the fetal position, and this helps the pattern to subside. So now Keira is on the floor and she stopped on her side, so I'm taking the opportunity to rock her pelvis and her ribs and push down through to the floor so she can feel the ground force. She likes this movement and she's still, waking up. Right here, I hold her shoulder and you can tell I'm still doing the same type of movement, but I'm moving the ribs underneath the shoulder so that she could get a little bit more freedom in the shoulder blade to move her arms more freely. During the past 8 months at physical therapy, Keira has been walking on a slow-moving treadmill in a harness. Knowing that I would like to help her to get better organized for walking by doing the developmental movements on the floor that a child does in the first year of life. Throughout this lesson, that is what I'm always thinking about as she is on the move. It's a challenge. Here I have Keira sitting against my chest, and I'm placing one hand on her pelvis and one hand on her chest, and I'm moving her pelvis through to her chest so that she comes up onto her hands and her knees. This will help her develop skeletal strength as well as muscular strength throughout her torso, and this will help her to become better organized for sitting, standing, and walking. And right now I'm just watching her do it by herself, and I can see that there's a change in her torso. This is a wonderful position for Keira to play in, standing on her knees with a toy, so that she has to learn to balance. You can see right there she's learning to come back up onto her hands and then push herself up from her knees. Bearing weight through the knee to the hip joint is a wonderful way for her to become more organized for standing when she puts her foot underneath her hip joint. Right now I'm doing movements with her feet. She tends to have a lot of unnecessary tension in the feet, and this is a good opportunity for me to work with the joints in the feet and connect them to the movement of the rest of her leg.
What are you saying? What are you saying? Yes. I see what you're saying. You have lots of words to say. Can you say them again? Oh. Yeah. Yes, I hear you. You're excited. Very good, and you're looking at my mouth so nicely. Yes. Yes. Good job.
This was a very important moment in this lesson where Keira started to vocalize, and I come very close to her face purposely so she can read my lips and read my facial expressions, and I try to meet the tone of her vocalization so that we can have a conversation together. This is the way children learn to talk, so I encourage Jen to do this with Keira as often as possible.
Should it take one off?
Right here I'm working more with Keira's chest so that the vertebrae underneath her head can become better organized for standing and walking.
Yeah. That's your chest.
Here we're working on climbing the stairs, and Keira has been climbing the stairs at home. In the very first session I ever taught Keira, I taught her how to climb the stairs, and Jen was very excited and continued to do this at home with my great encouragement. Climbing the stairs is like crawling, and bearing weight through the knees is very important. And you can see that I'm just holding her knees down because she wants to use her foot, and Jen said she uses her feet more at home, and I want her in this instance to use more of her knees to bear weight through the hip joint for balance, stability. Jen said that it's hard to keep Keira on her knees at home, and I told her not to worry about it. She is going to do what she's going to do, and we just need to encourage play in kneeling. Now here, since Keira is doing so much standing on her own, I'm going to get her ready for standing from a squat position and pushing through the legs, and not actually going to standing but actually going to a bear crawl. And if we could get her to bear crawl, that is the next step to standing after crawling. And you see, she's used to standing straight up, and standing straight up is too hard for even an adult to do. So to bear weight into the legs, I'm encouraging her to go down, and Jen has her hands trying to encourage her to go down. And that was one of the first times she did it. This is the first time I've ever done this with her, and this is probably the third time today that I did it. And that was a better approximation than the last time she did it, because she wants to stand straight up. We're going to do two more.
Okay. Great. We'll try it one more time after you get...
Here I put the roller between her legs, and that will help her a little bit better. So she's in squatting with her bottom a little bit higher, and she's already getting the concept. She's not trying to go straight up. She's not pushing into me anymore. She felt it in the last time, how pushing through her feet and going downwards actually is more stable than when she was throwing her head back. And right here she's playing with, she's trying to get the bell, and she's starting to think about moving. She doesn't quite know how to do it, and she comes back down. And it's wonderful. Like I told her mom, coming back down is just as important as going up.
And you know, it's probably going to help her.
You'll see she's going to sit back on the roller.
Yeah, because it takes more bearing of weight.
Right.
And when she lets go, look how much more stable she is in her torso. And she's playing here. And you can see the tonus in her torso has changed tremendously just through this session. So we're going to try this movement one more time. I place her heels below her knees, and with my hands on her knees, I push through the knees to her heels so she can feel the ground force. And that will give her the idea to push down into the floor. Her mom is holding her hands to give her the idea to move forward so that when she pushes right there, her pelvis goes towards the ceiling. She did that beautifully, and she's really beginning to feel what it's like to bear weight. And it's the beginning of bear crawling. Bearing weight on her hands like that is also very important. I'm just pushing my hands into her hands because she tends to keep her hands, her fingers like claws, and she scratches a lot, and she doesn't let the fingers lengthen out. So that's why I did that. And again, you could see her torso has become stronger. Watch how she plays. Watch how much more control Keira has as she plays with her hands and kneeling. This part of the lesson is pretty much over, but I just want to show Keira a few more things with her hands. You could see how she wants to scratch the floor. She likes that sound, I think, as well. And right now I'm just taking her hand and tapping it onto the floor so she can feel that her hand can take the force of energy, and also that she could use her hand in a different way other than scratching. And you can see she starts to scratch my face. That's a familiar thing that she does. And even here you could tell that she's really learning to be comfortable balancing on her knees. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other hand over here. I'm also working with her arms, squeezing and letting her feel the structure of her bones. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take that hand and play with the fingers a little bit and the wrist. And then I'm just going to slap it on the floor so she can feel. Oh, I first onto my leg and then onto the floor. And actually here she starts to lengthen the fingers on her own, and then I just push into it. And this will give her more stability when she crawls, but it will also help her to use her hands differently. This is the end of the session, and you can see that Keira slowly rolls onto her back to show me that she's finished. Jen is learning how to incorporate all that we do in sessions at home during play. She's also learning how to touch and move Keira in a Child'Space Feldenkrais way, so learning continues at home.